Hello, my name is Andrew James, and this is my qualitative study. To start, we will be using the Google Groups feature of Google Classroom, where students will work in discussion groups to work with mathematics. Google Classroom is Google's free learning management system where instructors can post assignments, notes, calendars, assessments, and announcements. It's very useful for quick communication and organization, and it also allows teachers to grade assignments and produce feedback very quickly. It also uses Google's other apps like Docs, Sheets, or Slides, and it could be downloaded as an app on a tablet or a smartphone, so anybody can access it. Parents also can view anything that the students can see. Specifically, I will work with the Google Groups feature to create discussion forums for math class. Discussion forums are somewhat new medium in education for the past 20 so years. According to Garrison, discussion groups are a way to establish a community of inquiry and can help engage learners in deep thinking. The teacher's job is to establish boundaries and use professional language so students can maintain cordial and professional relationships while learning about a topic. My research question is, to what extent can Google Classroom discussion forums influence critical thinking in mathematics? This question originated from the extent that Google Classroom discussion forums can affect discourse outside the classroom. Discourse in the mathematics classroom is often forgotten for many teachers. Classrooms are set up in rows and are not given opportunities for discussion. So an online place where students can discuss problems and share ideas and display knowledge is an excellent place for discourse. This happens in a community of inquiry, as we mentioned before. In e-learning, the COI, or Community of Inquiry, guides learners by creating mentally engaging community that promotes deep thinking and collaborative learning. It also encourages reflection and discourse through conversations, writing, inquiry, debates, and instruction. Through this communication, we focus on academics, and students can express themselves in their online writing through content and self-disclosure. Overall, students could have more opportunities to discuss math and learn content together. And because discourse affects group thinking, we are going to focus solely on the critical thinking aspect. As stated by Garrison, a community of inquiry guides learners by creating a mentally engaging community that promotes deep thinking and collaborative learning. Since Google Classroom can be designed to encourage this group discussion, this will lead to improved critical thinking skills and to transfer. So it can increase the group effort between students, but also encourage the critical thinking and problem solving. Transfer is also important for all subjects because it allows for smaller fundamental skills to be applied to high-order thinking problems and other contexts. My question is partially based on the research by Seo and quantitative research by Jacob and Sam. Seo discovered qualitatively that online learners improve their critical thinking abilities after participating in discussions with an instructor after 1 week. Jacob and Sam measured students' ability to critically think after taking part in online discussion forums involving difficult problems for groups to solve. The theory to follow is that students who participate in mathematical discussion forums are better critical thinkers. We are looking for a correlation between the participation and critical thinking. We will use quota sampling with 15 students selected from the population of students with access to Google Classroom. So my study is on the effects of discussion forums in class, and it affects student learning the most. So my population will be the students who have used Google Classroom or some other discussion forum in math class. We will only need 15 students because of the time it will take to conduct interviews and transpire them. Participants will be selected using quota sampling from the population of math students. Quota sampling is not random and it's not precise, but it will select participants with what the characteristics we want of using discussion forums in math class. These discussion forums in math are not the most common practice, so we will use the first 15 students willing to participate. Using a semi-structured interview and class grades, I will discuss discussion forums uses and compare scores with the participants. The goal is to develop a hypothesis based on the research relating the relationship between discussion forums and critical thinking in mathematics. We will collect student grades, analyze them, and then conduct semi-structured interviews because they have a more conversational tone for an interview. It will also allow for students to elaborate on a topic and explain the reasoning for an answer while still asking most of the required questions. Transcriptions will also be taken and written to determine if anything was missed and could add to the research questions and answers. We will also clarify what they're saying later on when we use the data. The data relates to critical thinking because the assumption that students with better grades will have higher critical thinking skills. The purpose of the interview is to gain the knowledge of the students' perceptions and feelings towards the values of discussion forums and what they add to class. My questions are based on the theory that students who participate in mathematical discussion forums are better critical thinkers. Here are some examples of questions that will be asked to students in the interview. The first is, how frequently do you work with others to explain or solve math problems in class? The second question is, how often do other students collaborate to explain, solve, or help comprehend a problem? Third question is, how frequently do you use discussion forums in class? Fourth question, do you always participate in these discussion forums? The fifth question is, do these discussion forums help you comprehend complex problems? And the last question, how have these discussions influenced your assessment grades and achievement? Data will be collected by analyzing student grades and conducting and transcribing interviews. After finding the students using quota sampling, students and parents will sign their consent forms. Once research begins, we will first complete the data collection and analysis of student grades. Specifically, we will look at the students' overall grades, assessment grades, and participation scores for discussion forums. Second, a semi-structured interview will be conducted, transcribed, and analyzed for all participants. Data will be collected during the interview process by analyzing the participants' nonverbal cues and answers, as well as the transcription process during and after each answer. Reliability will be established through inter-rater reliability so that there are fewer inconsistencies with the scoring. Two raters will grade the interviews, transcripts, and student grades and compare the results to find Cohen's kappa. Validity will be established by triangulating the interview findings, data from the grades, the theory, and checking back with the participants' answers for clarity. Because the validity measures how well the test covers an underlying theory and is correlated with other scores, this is a part of construct validity. Data analysis. Using closed coding, grades and interview transcriptions will be analyzed to relate data to a theory. Student grades and interview responses will be coded with closed coding for the discovery of information relating to a theory. That students who participate in mathematical discussion forums are better critical thinkers. The interview transcriptions will be coded, given themes, and analyzed. Student discussion forums from participation grades, test grades, and overall grades will be coded by letter grades based off percentages from a normal grading scale. So if a student is earning a 90%, that's an A, they'll get a score of 5, B is 4, C is 3, and so on. After coding, we will look for a linear relationship to determine if there is a correlation between the discussion forums and the grades. The variables that we will measure include comparing discussion forum participation grades to overall grades and test grades, and comparing the interview to overall and test grades. Below is an example of a closed coding form. And here are the references that I've used. Thank you.